Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here, and I'm back again with a brand new video. So this time around we're going to be taking a look at and comparing the iPhone 15 Plus to the iPhone 14 Plus. And one of the things that I've noticed the most is that the changes here are bigger than you think. They really are. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you go ahead and do so. And yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and begin by dissecting these phones. Starting with the iPhone 14 Plus. So to me, this seems to be a familiar design. Not a lot has changed from the 14 Plus to the 13 or even the regular 14. It's essentially just a bigger phone overall. So on the back, you do have this kind of a glossy glass material, and I've never really liked that look for the iPhone. I like the matte finish on the Pro models, but we'll get to that when we talk about the 15 Plus. So the edges on here on so also the edges on the 14 Plus have this kind of sharp end to them. Now the grip on here is good, but just the glossy material on the back does not give it a good look. And of course on the bottom you have the lightning connector, which we will no longer see on iPhones. And the back houses your dual camera setup, so you do get a wide angle lens, but you also get a main sensor of 12 megapixels. And we're going to talk about the cameras also later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. In the front of the phone you do have this display. Now don't get me wrong, it still is a quality display. It is OLED, not as bright as the 15 Plus, but we'll take a look at them side by side also in a little bit, and only 60 hertz, and you also have the notch at the top. Alright, so now let's go ahead and switch the topic of conversation and talk about the iPhone 15 Plus. And this is where the changes are bigger than you expect. So beginning with the design itself, this is a much improved, more refined design overall. Starting with the material of choice, so what Apple did is that they infused the back glass with some sort of coating to give you a solid matte color. And let me tell you that this is immediately genuinely way better than the 14 Plus. It actually makes the 14 Plus look a little bit silly, but we're going to take a look at them side by side. Now the best color in my opinion is going to be this black one. It might catch fingerprints here and there just because of how dark it is, but for the most part it's fine. Also the back has these subtle curvature around the edges to help with the grip. And in addition to all of that, you also get the USB-C port, which we will talk about later on. But overall, as a design, as a package, it is much improved over the iPhone 14 Plus. Alright, so the camera here also received a big time upgrade. So now you get a main sensor of 48 megapixels instead of that 12 megapixel sensor. And it is capable of shooting 24 megapixel stills right out of the box. So now let's actually look at both phones side by side and talk about them a little bit deeper. So aesthetically, like I said before, the 15 Plus just is the more refined phone and just looks better, feels better. Not to mention that the 15 Plus is actually lighter than the 14 Plus, and it is noticeable. At first I thought it was just my mind playing games on me, but when I held them side by side, I did notice a difference as far as weight. And if you look at the curvature on the 15 Plus versus the 14 Plus, you can tell that the sides have this kind of subtle curve to them to provide a better grip, and it just much better feel in the hand. Also, we cannot skip this conversation. The USB-C, like I mentioned before, is finally a thing on iPhones. The Lightning port is just in the past. So for better or for worse, whether you like it or not, that's just what it is. So as of right now, the only benefit is that it is a universal port. So if you're hoping for faster transfer speeds or you're hoping for faster charging speeds, then you're out of luck. Alright, so now let's talk about the displays, which the 15 Plus received a major upgrade versus the 14 Plus. The first update is the fact that the 15 Plus is just a much brighter display. Now don't get me wrong, both of these displays are quality for the most part, but the increased brightness on the 15 Plus can reach up to 2000 nits, which is miles ahead of the 14 Plus, and it's very noticeable under direct sunlight. So not a lot of reflection on the 15 Plus versus the 14 Plus. Resolution for the most part is still the same. As a panel, it still is quality, but the 15 Plus gives you dynamic island, which makes the bezels look smaller and just gives the phone a more modern look. And also the dynamic island actually has functionality versus just a notch on a phone. So I also went ahead and did a speaker test on both of these phones, so go ahead and take a listen to the speaker and I'll get back to you guys with some words on that. fake sandstone, really slippery material. So a case is definitely highly recommended. But overall, the way that it looks actually pretty decent, and it actually looks really similar to the OnePlus Nord N300. And I'll leave a video for that in the description so you guys can take a look. And if you look at the way that they also designed the camera lenses, or the camera follows a similar story to the overall design. So that's a nice touch by Motorola. Speaking of the camera, you do have a dual camera sensor with a 48 megapixel main camera, LED flash, but we'll definitely talk about the camera in that segment of the video, so stay tuned. But the camera does protrude a little bit, which can get. So don't get me wrong, both speakers on the 15 Plus and the 14 Plus are both really solid, but I did notice on the 15 Plus that the sound was slightly a little bit more crispy and slightly higher in volume, but ever so slightly. It was really hard to tell unless you have them side by side. So take that information and do with it as you wish. But now for the moment that a lot of people I'm betting are waiting for, which is the camera quality. So like I mentioned before, the 15 Plus does give you a major upgrade in the camera department versus the 14 Plus, beginning with the all-new 48 megapixel sensor, which allows you to take 24 megapixels shots right out of the box, and also allows you for this kind of 2x zoom that uses the 48 megapixel sensor as kind of a crop and gives you the ability to do a telephoto lens. Now you can say that it's digital, but it's as close as an actual telephoto lens as you will get without adding a dedicated telephoto lens. Now the 14 Plus is still at 12 megapixels. And normally with one generational change between iPhone to iPhone, you don't really notice the difference, but this time around you actually will. So the iPhone 15 Plus gave me a better picture overall, from resolution to detail to lighting to just overall a package. The picture quality on the 15 Plus versus the 14 Plus was just better. Now I did post more pictures on my story on Instagram, so I'll leave that linked in the description below if you guys want to see a more dedicated camera review between these two phones. Also, let me know, I'll make it happen for sure. And overall, if you're thinking about upgrading, first of all, if you have the 14 Plus and thinking about going to the 15 Plus, it's definitely a good upgrade, but I wouldn't rush to it just because you're going to be spending a lot more money. But if that's what you want, then that's what you want. Now, if you're coming from an iPhone 13 and you want a Pro model, a bigger iPhone, but you don't want to spend Pro money, then the 15 Plus is actually genuinely a solid upgrade. And with that being said, let me know what you guys think. Which phone would you pick if you had the choice? Me personally, I would go to the 15 Plus all the way. I feel like it has a lot of major upgrades versus the 14 Plus. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.